show here on a Victory Friday. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The Lions just beat the Kansas City Chiefs on the road. On the road. This isn't at home. They came to Ford Field and you beat the Chiefs. No, you traveled to Arrowhead and put a foot in their ass. Are you kidding me?
They fought adversity too. All the stuff that the same old Lions would have done down in the third quarter. Penalties, not getting back to running the ball. They didn't do any of that.
No.
Put this narrative to rest, baby. Same old Lions, no more, no more.
Now, this is, and I want to say this about the win itself, because I kind of talked about it yesterday and the day prior. Go win a game you're not supposed to win, or people don't think you can win. And that also entails of, situations in the game, for example, when it's not going your way or offensively, you're not playing your best football. That's called complementary football. Complement each other, offensively, defensively, special teams. You got freaking Germ.
Special teams, fake
carrying
punt.
the ball.
A 4th and 2 fake punt.
Are you kidding?
On your own 25 in the first quarter against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Jalen Reeves-Maybin.
Are you kidding me? They complemented each other well. The offense, there's a lot of things to clean up. I think on both sides, but mainly the offense. I mean, without Brian Branch's pick 6, they only scored 14 points. But regardless, Sam Flannel, that defense, when it counted, they showed up. Even after the breakdown, even after Mahomes, right before halftime, looking great. And that was a moment I had in time, which I'll get to in 10 minutes because I want to talk about the SOL stuff. But there was just a couple times in that game, and I'll point them out in the next segment, where I sat there and I was like, oh no, like this could be another, this is another chance for people to use the SOL narrative, right? To come out and be like, man, you're up 14 to 7 here, or you're down 14 to 7. Chiefs get the ball out of halftime. What's going to happen? Line stuck in there, Sam, but they complement each other very well. That's what winning teams do right there.
Absolutely.
Not offensively all year, and then the defense never shows up. But go on.
No, absolutely. You talk about the defense, and that was one of my takeaways. One of my first takeaways is that Aiden Hutchinson might just have an all-pro season this year. I know he didn't get a sack, but he did have 3 quarterback hits and a whopping 8 quarterback pressures. He was one of the best players on the entire field last night. Maybe the best player on the field, if you ask me. He was dominant. He just didn't get a whole lot of help when it came to everybody else rushing the passer, but he definitely bothered Patrick Mahomes, forced some early throws, forced him to move the pocket. And when it comes to the defense, here are a couple of big plays that I wouldn't say get overlooked, but I think were very, very important, or a couple aspects. It was very, very important after the Chiefs took a 14-7 lead going into halftime for them not to score a touchdown in their first possession back. And the Lions held. They held them to 5 and out. The Lions got the ball back, and they went 3 and out. But then, speaking to the defense, they took advantage of Kadarius Toney dropping a ball right in his hands, and it pops right into the hands of Brian Branch, who returns it for a touchdown to tie the game at 14. Also, and need you guys not forget, the Kansas City Chiefs had a couple of long scoring drives in the second half, but what did both of them end in? Field goals, not touchdowns.
Bend but don't break.
Absolutely, and that allowed for the Lions to go down and score and take the lead in a rushing touchdown by David Montgomery, which we all predicted would happen, and it finally did. The room absolutely erupted. And also, here's what was just insane. This is something that this is to me one of the proofs that SOL is dead. I know we'll get to it later, but this particular sequence, the Lions had a 21-20 lead. They go for it on 4th and 2 from the Kansas City 45. They don't get it.
Which I love that play call, by the way. I'm sure some people were freaking out over that. That play call just bought me in even more. I didn't care that they didn't get it. But Dan Campbell has shown, we're here to win this bitch.
But, Lucas, can you agree that if the Chiefs would have taken all the time off the clock and scored and won the game, that he would have been questioned about it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But those were the same play calls that put the Lions in the game previously. You know what I mean?
But what did the Lions do? The defense held. The defense actually forced off the back of a holding penalty, most of all, the Chiefs into a 4th and 25, which the Chiefs obviously didn't get because nobody gets a 4th and 25, and then the Lions never give the ball back. That turned out to be the Chiefs' last possession of the game. So we're talking about the defense. The defense stepped up huge when they needed to, and that's the thing. The Lions team, what they have showed over the last 11 games that they've played in, the last 10 of last year and the first one of this year, is that the Lions, they overcome mistakes, they're opportunistic, and they take advantage of breaks.
Yep.
Consistently, almost every game, they do all of those things.
And speaking of the defense, for me, and I'll go right to it, it's the secondary. I mean, the new look secondary we've been waiting to see. And you know who's a big part of that?
Who is it, Jeff?
The rookie, Brian
Yes.
Branch. And I'll tell you what, Brian Branch, this is a man who all training camp, joint practices, he's been the talk of town, a second-round pick who Brad Holmes had graded as a first-round pick. This man, week 1, Mahomes never thrown an interception. He doesn't even know what that is, week 1. He's like, huh? Throwing interceptions. I don't know what you're
He was
talking
throwing
about.
138 passer rating, QBR.
138
Damn near
passer rating
perfect.
on week 1. Brian Branch said, yeah, I'll give you your first pick. And you know what else? I'll take you to the house and score.
House call, baby.
So not
Hey,
only
Jeff.
did he throw his first pick, he threw his first pick 6 on week 1. You got the video, you guys
Oh, I'm
reacting
getting
to
it right now.
By the way, this is this essentially won the game because you won by 1 point.
They don't win this game without it.
That was, and again, it wasn't directly to Brian, but he made a one-handed grab, snag, and he took off. Now, when he went down, I was worried. I was a little worried.
The cramps.
Yeah, I didn't think it was cramps, so it was
Yeah.
much worse. But regardless, Brian Branch, there's a reason why they had to make sure this dude was on the field. Sure. C.J. Gardner-Johnson was supposed to be your slot corner. Brian Branch arrived. They said, you know what? You can go to the back end, C.J., because we need this kid on the field. Play the clip. The juice was brought in the broadcast.
You could see me at the end of it kind of sit the amount of weight that was lifted off of Detroit Lions fans' shoulders last night by Brian Branch. Green Bay Packers, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you, Brad Holmes, for being the GM wizard that you are and fleecing through this NFC North, because we would not have won that game last night without Brad Holmes and Brian Branch. And most importantly, those Green Bay Packers.
No doubt about it. Brian Branch was a big part of that. Another group I'll bring up, and you've already mentioned it, but I have to give credit to this defensive line as a whole. Pascal was making plays.
Yeah.
Hey, I was excited to see that.
But
But
huge play.
Huge play. That was a, what, 4th down?
When they were doing, they had, I believe it was
down.
either Blake Bell or Noah Gray under center.
Yeah.
And they motioned him across. The interior pressure, they got outside of him, but Josh Pascal right before they broke contain. Your boy, Jeff, the man that you said needed to be playing inside, and they didn't play Isaiah Buggs. And this is exactly why. Josh Pascal was making plays last night, baby.
And the other part of it, too, at least for the defensive line, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, what would have made them even harder to stop, Sam? Running the football. Having a run game going. Now you get Mahomes to be able to set up play action, and now the offense becomes more unpredictable. Mahomes was their leading rusher last night. 6 rushes for 45 yards, average of 7.5 yards per carry. Now, if you take out Mahomes, the Chiefs were 15 carries for 49 yards. That was very reminiscent of the defense we saw the second half of last season, shutting down the run right until Carolina. But this is something this needs to be the Lions' bread and butter right here, stopping the frickin' run. And they did it against the Chiefs, and you know what helps when you can stop the run? When you got a pretty good secondary.
Yes.
Because when you know what they're going to do, when they become more predictable, as in the Chiefs in this instance, you know they're going to pass the ball. You got guys that can make plays. This defense, they're going to be special this year. I believe that.
Well, yes, and the other thing that I noticed, and I actually made a Twitter post about it, is that the Kansas City Chiefs, and this goes back to last year, they don't like to run quarterback sneaks. Sometimes they get away from smash mouth football on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, and they try to get a little bit too cute, like handing the ball off to Noah Gray, or that end around to Kadarius Toney on 2nd and 1 that lost a yard. And that's the sign of a good defense. They're disciplined. They pursue to the football. I'm talking about the Lions defense, and they don't let the Chiefs get away with just being too cute, because when those plays work, you're going to call Andy Reid a genius. But when they don't, which the Lions made sure that they didn't, you're going to be called like, what are you doing? And like I said, that is something that the Lions defense, I'm really, really happy that they were able to take advantage of that, because you just got to run the ball straight up the gut. But the Chiefs didn't do that, and because the Lions wouldn't, and the Lions made them pay.
And I got to say, too, man, like that offensive line, it started with them. And it ended with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Those boys closed the game. Like, and Demont deserves a lot of love, too, because we were excited about that signing, and Demont showed last night, like, he runs tough. That guy runs hard. But the other part of it, that offensive line, they closed it. They needed a first down. Get out the way. Get out of the frickin' way. Here comes Demont for a first down. The offensive line, a big part of it, we kind of talked about it, and Nick Bolton was trying to wreck that game pretty much on his own.
Nick Bolton was showing out last night.
Yeah, he was. That guy's a beast. I like Nick Bolton a lot.
When he put Demont on his ass.
But yeah, I know. I was like, Demont, get up there.
He bounced back, though.
He did.
Bounced back.
So the offensive line, the defensive line, I think the Lions look great in the trenches. But what about you, Lucas? What are some of your takeaways?
Listen, Dan Campbell did not get coached by Andy Reid. Number one. We had 4 Detroit Lions rookies make crucial impact timely plays. Jahmyr Gibbs, timely runs. Sam Laporta, that 2nd and 14 slant in the first half was huge to keep the Lions in momentum, to keep them inside that game. Brian Branch, obviously know about him. And Jack Campbell could not have been on the field more. I do not want to say, it was making me nervous, the amount that Jack Campbell was getting taken off the field, because every time he was on the field, he was making an impact. He was always around the ball. Now, Alex Anzalone, solid game. He was always around the ball, couldn't complete a couple tackles. But for the most part, he was there. Derek Barnes, for the most part, was there. But I want to see more Jack Campbell. But these rookies, man, they all look the part.
Did you see that Jack Campbell pass deflection?
That was huge.
Yes.
That man torqued his body backwards.
That's why I was like, don't take this man out. They are going to be throwing every play from here on out.
And I don't know, man, that says a lot. Like the fact that, again, Brian, Jahmyr, which we'll get to in a second here, because Jahmyr deserves a lot of love. I'll get to him next segment. But also Jack Campbell, like you said, the rookies, they went out, they didn't look phased. Didn't really look much phased. I think that was impressive.
This game would have had a very different trajectory without all of the rookies that we have gained this year.
It's crazy to think about it, but that's true. Brian Branch.
Wild. All of those big moments were coming, a lot of those big moments, those explosive moments that we've been looking for, all came from rookies. And I think the other main reason is this improved secondary.